going to happen in our lives is change. Now, I come from a very different perspective on this because growing up, my dad worked in the oil industry, and it basically every 3 or 4 years we moved, right? So started out in California when I was 7, boom, we moved to Chicago, was there 3 years, moved to Ohio, 2 years later moved to England, and then in England went to British school for 2 years. Then my junior year was actually boarding at a school in London, and then finally moving back to Ohio. So I went to 3 high schools. Then I went to Utah for 1 year, deferred for 2 years, went to the Philippines, and then I was a thriller in Manila, and I went all over there, kind of in the Manila area, and then came back to Utah, graduated in 3 years, came to Wisconsin. And so constantly for me, it was all about change. And it was basically, how can you deal with change? How can you embrace it? How can you quickly move on and accept that this is your lot in life? And so constantly saying to yourself, okay, this is where I'm at. This is who I am. This is where I'm headed. And so I think for a lot of people, they push against change. They push against, this company bought your company, and now you got to push back because you got new leadership, you got new management, you have, changes that are happening in your children's lives. They're aging, right? So instead of having toddlers now, you're dealing with teenagers, and there's a different relationship that goes on in dealing with the teenager and helping them become independent, helping them have confidence, helping them grow, than there is when they're just children and you're just helping them, tie their shoes or, getting potty trained. It's a much different skill set that's required. And so as we're constantly dealing with change, we have to be able to accept this is where we are, right? So no matter what's happening in your life, you can push it off all you want. Like, no, I'm not divorced. Well, if you just got served papers and or you're done, right? You've filed, it's done, it's behind you, then you are. And that's where I'm coming from. The context of change is that it's going to happen to us, and it's going to be unpleasant. It's going to be uncomfortable. But through that uncomfortability, through those nuances, we actually become better. It's that anxiety that will occur in that change that prompts us to take action to become even better. So, for example, your change at work, right? New manager, great opportunity. Here's a new person that I can help them get to where they want to go. And hopefully if they're a team player, they can help me get to where I want to go. So having that mentality of helping others, they can hopefully help you. And so at the same time, don't have that expectation, right? From the idea that helping someone else, there's no expectation for anything in return. I take a lot of phone calls where people ask me advice about what they should do for career, what they should do at the particular point of life, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm saying that that's what I decided to do, and so I'll really turn it back on them and say, what do you want? Because the reality is that they're at this particular spot, right? It's just like if you turn on the GPS, boop, you have a pin, it drops, you are here. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. This is where I am. The question now remains is, where are you headed? In which direction are you setting your sails? Where do you want to go? Because that's what matters to you. I might be already, let's say, in New York City, and you're starting in LA. Does it matter that I'm already where you want to be? It has nothing to do with your life. You are where you are, and you now want to go to a specific spot. And the interesting thing about it, though, is it's more interesting about the journey that you're going to start taking than it is the end result. The journey is greater than the destination. The destination is just inevitable. If I started walking, there's really good odds that I'll end somewhere, right? And so that's exactly how our life is that we're constantly going to be presented with different scenarios in life, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. And we have to quickly adjust to that new norm. And once we adjust that new norm, we can then start growing and start learning. It's just like if you and I go to the gym, the only way that we're going to be able to experience real growth, let's say we're lifting weights, is by doing a different exercise in that same muscle group or doing a heavier weight in that same muscle group, right? And so let's say I'm always doing curls like this. Well, what if I were to do it like this? All of a sudden now I have a different motion, right? Oh, sorry, those on the podcast, I just changed my hand position. And so by being able to do things slightly differently or doing a heavier weight in the gym, I actually get stronger. Same thing works in our lives. We're constantly being presented with different changes. We just have to react to it. And there's that old phrase, right? Life is 10% what happens to you, 90% of how you deal with it. If life gives you lemons, I say cut it open, plant those seeds, become a lemon baron, and get everybody excited about lemons. Sherman's out. Sherman's out.